Hi, I'm Dan Murphy, and I am here with Representative David Linsky. Why don't you talk about districts you represent and introduce yourself a little bit?
Thanks, Dan. It's a pleasure to be here. I represent the towns of Natick, Sherburne, and two-thirds of the town of Millis in what constitutes the 5th Middlesex District in the Massachusetts House of Representatives. And I've been honored to do that since 1999. So I'm coming on 18 years in being a state representative in Massachusetts.
Okay, so why don't we talk about how you got started? What drew you into politics?
Well, I've always kind of been around politics, but the only elected position I held before I got elected to be a state representative was actually a Natick town meeting member. Natick has a representative town meeting, unlike Sherburne or Dover, that has open town meeting. And so I was elected to be a part of Natick's legislature, town meeting. I had worked in a lot of political campaigns. I actually served as an appointed member of the Conservation Commission in Natick. But my main public office that I held was an appointed position, which was, I was an assistant district attorney for Middlesex County for 14 years, under Scott Hochbarger, Tom Riley, and then briefly under Martha Coakley. I've always had a big interest, not just in politics, but really in public policy. And I'm a bit of a policy wonk, and I very much enjoy trying to make the world a little bit better, as corny as that might sound, but one person at a time.
Okay, so I take it you're a Natick resident then?
Yeah, I'm a Natick lifer. Born and bred Natick, went to Natick Public Schools, and went to Colby College, and then Boston College Law School, and then I came back to Natick, and I'm happy to raise my boys in Natick as well.
Okay, and then, but we're happy to have you as our Sherburne representative as well. And so let's, as this is Dover Sherburne cable television, let's talk about some of the things that you've done in Sherburne, if you want.
Well, I've been very proud of what I've been able to accomplish on behalf of the people of Sherburne. You know, the new middle school right next door. We're taping this at the regional high school. I was very much involved obviously in getting the state funding to build that. Similarly, this building was renovated with state funds as part of the same project, or close in time being it too. That's part of my my legacy, if you will, is the buildings that I've helped build. And in Sherburne right now, they just broke ground on a new library, and that's going to be paid for, big chunk of it, by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and I secured that money working with the town of Sherburne and the library trustees in Sherburne to do that. So I'm very happy about that. Overall, obviously, I'm responsible for bringing in local aid, both in direct local aid to the town of Sherburne, but also what's known as Chapter 70 and the other school programs to help fund the public schools, the great public schools, both in Sherburne and in the Dover-Sherburne Regional School District as well. I'm proud of what I've been able to accomplish throughout the district, and in Sherburne, I'm particularly proud about being able to help individual families and individual people, one family or one person at a time, on constituent service issues.
Yeah, and so in conjunction with especially things like the regional school committee, do you have some like relationships with particularly Dover, but other communities as well from your office?
Oh, absolutely. I work very closely with the local elected town officials in the 3 towns that I represent. Now, I won't interfere with what is purely a town issue. My job, as I see it in relation to the towns, is if I can be helpful in dealing with a state agency or state bureaucracy in some way in assisting the town, I will certainly advocate on their behalf and do everything I can. And then I also see a big part of my job as bringing in as much money quite as possible in to assist the towns. And so I do that as a big part of my job. I often say that there are sort of 3 separate jobs of being a state representative. The first is what people most commonly think of, which is voting on bills, voting on legislation, doing the committee work, the stuff that makes the newspapers. The second third of the three parts of the job is what I just mentioned, which is the advocating on behalf of the towns in your district and making sure that they get their fair share, or maybe more than their fair share, of state funds and state projects. And then the third is maybe the most rewarding part of being a state representative, and that job is to be an advocate for individual people or individual families in your district when they have an issue with state government. Now, it might be something like they need health insurance, or they need an unemployment check, or they need elder care, or they need child care, something where state government can step in and help those families. That's the most rewarding portion of this job. And let me tell you, when I'm in the supermarket or when I'm in the dry cleaners and somebody comes up to me and says, Representative, I just want to thank you for what you and your office did for my family. That's the best part of this job. It really is.
Okay, and so you take a really active role at being visible in the community.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The most obvious way is just being out there. So in Sherburne, you'll see me around town. I do open office hours at least once a month in the town of Sherburne. I come to lots of events in Sherburne. You may have seen me at the Brew Fest. You might see me at a Dover Sherburne regional football game. You might see me occasionally at the Heritage in Sherburne. I wish that the Sherburne Sandwich Shop was still open, because it was another place for me to meet people in Sherburne. But C&L Frosty's reopening pretty soon, and you'll see me there. And obviously, just I'll see Sherburne people at Roach Brothers in Natick all the time as well.
Right, of course, because as neighboring communities, there's always some amount of overlap.
Sure.
So, I'm wondering, especially, I guess, what are some of the upcoming challenges for your office?
Well, we have in Massachusetts a $40 billion a year annual budget, and we'll be debating and voting on that in April, or at least the House will be. But there are some real challenges this year. Not so much challenges that have been brought on by events in Massachusetts, but by events that are going on nationally right now. As we're taping this in March of 2017, we don't really know what the status is going to be of healthcare in the United States. And we know that right now, the changes that are pending in the Republican health care bill in Congress will cost the Commonwealth of Massachusetts at least $1 billion a year. We're very proud of the health care system that we have in Massachusetts, but it's not so simple as just, if Obamacare or the ACA is repealed, then replacing it with what we used to have, Romney Care in Massachusetts. It's not that simple, because a big chunk of our health care costs in Massachusetts are picked up by the federal government. And with the changes that are likely in the Republican Congress right now, we're going to have to find that money somewhere else. And this is quite concerning. About 40% of the Massachusetts annual budget is healthcare, and this is creating some real challenges. In addition to that, our economy in Massachusetts is greatly affected by the National Institutes of Health and then other healthcare industry. Really, it's a big part of a big sector in the Massachusetts economy. And I'm concerned about what's going on in Washington right now and what it's going to do to Massachusetts. So that's really what we're dealing with right now.
Okay, and I guess this is kind of an additional question on top of that is with the change in the presidency. And I mean, and you've been a representative for 18 years, so you've seen changes in party and changes in president before. Does that generally create a lot of additional challenges?
Well, it can. but nothing like we've seen right now, because, for example, the budget that President Trump just put forth, his proposed budget, put in some cuts and changes in sectors that are very important to the Massachusetts economy, like no other president has proposed before. And quite candidly, I'm very, very concerned about that. So, we're trying to figure out what our response is going to be in Massachusetts on what is really a moving target right now.
Yeah. It is presenting some new additional challenges that you may not have in a non-election year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But we'll figure it out. I'm very proud that U.S. News and World Report just ranked Massachusetts the #1 state in which to live in the United States, and it truly is great. Now, people complain about things all the time. Personally, I'd like to get rid of some of this weather we have here. But overall, we've got a very strong economy in Massachusetts. We have great health care. We have great public services. And overall, we've got a great quality of life. It's a good place to live.
Yeah, well, I mean, not only is Massachusetts as a whole great to live, your district is a great place to live. So I guess as we could talk some about some of the big ways that we as a community can give back, and ways that we're succeeding, or challenges that we may.
Well, yeah, no, I'm very fortunate. The 3 towns that I represent are all terrific communities. They're each a little different than the other, but I'm always amazed by sort of the spirit and the community mindedness of the people in all 3 of the towns. It really is an honor to work both for and with the people in Natick, Millis, and Sherburne.
Yeah. Trying to think if there are any more specifics you want to get into on anything that's going on.
Well, I've been honored for the last. Actually, this will be the 5th term to be the chairman of the House Committee on Post Audit and Oversight, which is a real honor. The speaker's named me that. This will be the 5th term, the 5th time that I've been named to that. And what that is that's the oversight branch of the legislature. So that when something goes wrong in state government, it's my job and my committee's job that I head to figure out what went wrong and what can we do to fix it. So, for example, I've spent a lot of time over the last few years working on issues with DCF, the Department of Children and Families, who are responsible for assisting families and children in particular who need some help in one fashion or another in getting along in Massachusetts and dealing with some really challenged kids and really challenged families. In addition to that, I'm very concerned about firearm safety, quite frankly. I've been involved in gun violence prevention measures for a long time, and I'm a sponsor of a very interesting piece of legislation this year, and it's called an Extreme Risk Protective Order bill. And what that means is that a family member of someone, or a healthcare provider, or the police can bring a petition in a local district court seeking an order that if that person is a firearm owner, that the firearms that that person owns be taken away on a temporary basis. And the reason that a family member or a healthcare provider or a law enforcement officer would file that petition would be if that person is having some temporary mental health problems, and a judge would have to find that because of those problems, the person is a danger to himself or to others. And this is something that's been done now in a couple of other states, and quite frankly, it's a way to prevent suicides and, God forbid, homicides. 22 veterans a day commit suicide in the United States. Out of those 22, 85% of them use a firearm to commit suicide. This is a way that if a family member suspects that somebody in their family is having a temporary problem, then let's get the guns out of the house. Let's try to prevent a tragedy from happening, either by means of a suicide or by means of a homicide or an attempted homicide to somebody else. So that's a bill that I'm putting forth this session, and I hope to get it to the governor's desk.
Yeah, I think I met with the Veterans Affairs offices in both the towns of Sherburne and Dover, and I do think that this is an issue that they have been faced with. So I'm sure that they
Right.
would welcome some attention being paid to it
Oh no,
by
it's
your office.
something that's very important and something that this country needs to deal with.
Yeah. And then speaking of the governor, I guess as we can talk a bit about kind of your relationship with his office and some of the other political offices that exist.
Sure.
That you
Well,
interact with.
you know, Governor Baker's a Republican, and I'm a Democrat, but I found some common ground to work with him on a number of issues. And Governor Baker is very good at making sure the state government works. And he, like myself, isn't concerned if it's a Democratic idea or a Republican idea. He just wants the right answer, and that's a good thing. And quite frankly, he's been good to work with. You know, part of my job as chair of the Committee on Post-Audit and Oversight, quite frankly, though, is to deal with commissioners and cabinet secretaries of state agencies where something goes wrong. And so they don't always like to hear from me. But quite frankly, generally speaking, the cabinet secretaries and the commissioners have been very good, and that when something's gone wrong, they've admitted it, and they've worked with me to try to figure out a way to fix it and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, because I think ultimately that's what most people want.
That's
or
exactly
what everyone should want from their government is trying to make things work and find the best solution for very complicated problems.
That's right. Right.
So I guess I should ask what's the best way to contact you
Sure.
for issues or
Sure.
whatever?
Very, very easily. You know, I respond to about 200 emails a day that are state government related. Email is always a good way. It's david.linsky, Linsky, at mahouse.gov. David.linsky at mahouse.gov, or you can pick up the phone and call us the old-fashioned way at 617-722-2575. That's 617-722-2575. And I also do open office hours in Natick, Sherburne, and Millis at least once a month. You can call my office and set up a time to meet with me personally if that time doesn't work. Or you can also write me a letter. You know, the address is very simply Representative David Linsky, the State House, Boston, Massachusetts, 02133. Or if you see me in Roach Brothers or you see me around town, feel free to say hello and ask me anything you want.
Yeah, and do you have do you post when these open office hours
Yeah, they're
are?
generally speaking, but generally, the first Monday of every month, we do Sherburne at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We do Natick at 9:30 in the morning, and we do Millis in between, usually at about 11. But we're not bound by those. And Carol Marple, who's the town clerk, keeps it posted on the town bulletin board in the entrance way into the Sherburne Town Hall.
Okay, great. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, it's always a pleasure to be here. I'm very proud of the three communities I represent. I'm very proud of the school systems, and I love being at Dover Sherburne Regional.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.